Hello everybody, welcome back to Factorio, some more Just the Basics in Factorio 0.16.x. And things have not progressed terribly much from the preceding video. I'm hesitant to call it an episode, but definitely from the preceding video. Haven't really been able to get much further out, haven't found any additional pockets of oil really that are remotely accessible, let alone useful. Yeah, literally, there's one out here, 118%, surrounded by death. I've never seen it get this bad. But up here, I have managed to, surround at the very least, with turrets, these four, and most importantly for us today, this one has actually got a full base and has generated a full storage tank. Now, this is not remotely going to help us in the long term, but for now, it's a start. So we're going to try getting over here with our car, and we're going to actually start building ourselves a brand new oil processing kind of site. And let's just hope that nobody up here takes substantial issue with that. So yeah, that's about how my day's going here, so bleh. Now the main thing that we're going to need for actually getting up to processing stuff is going to be the oil refineries. We're going to make 10 of those. There's not really a huge amount of science and numbers that goes into this. In the case of oil, it's mostly just a case of brute force. But for that, we're going to need a bunch of bricks. And a bunch of bricks requires a bunch of rock and a bunch of furnaces. And I do not believe... Do I have anywhere around here making bricks? Pretty sure I don't. Because I'm pretty sure I've had to hand make them so far. But we do have a place making a bunch of stone there, so shouldn't be that hard. So we'll get started with that. Might as well hop into the car for this one. This is car number 6 or 7. I've lost track now of how many have been destroyed. I've also, on at least 1 or 2 occasions, lost all of my stuff to the north, because there was no way in hell that I was getting somewhere that I died with all of my equipment, with no equipment. So, yeah, which I think actually might have included a few stone furnaces. May have hacked up slightly there. Oh well. There's a box down here, though. Does that have anything we can... Yes, it has 80 stone furnaces. Oi, I should have shot this box years ago. But okay, that'll do. That will absolutely do for just what we need to do today. And there we have it, one very incredibly quick and easy stone brick manufacturing. Now, we are actually going to have a more dedicated one later on down the road, because there are actual big industrial needs for stone bricks down the road. Funnily enough, thinking almost exactly the same thing we're working on right now. Nope, no, not that. There. And it looks like I do need to worry about that slightly. We are under attack somewhere. Okay, down here. Who's down here? Probably somebody else I haven't encountered yet. But okay, so there we go. Just need to fix the fact that we're not getting fuel there. Easily enough to sort. That is the product of me not ever really remembering if inserters will go directly into one belt or both. There we go. There we go, that's much better. Okay. So that's getting us a bunch of this, which we'll need to make a bunch of these. We do have everything else here, either in the mall or straight up on the main bus, so that shouldn't be a problem. We're looking to make 10 of these. And it takes 10 stone bricks, so we actually only need about 100. There we go. And then basically the rest I think is mostly circuits and iron. Try not to run over the power line that's feeding that entire thing. And then we'll hop over and get a new refinery going. Okay, pipes are the main thing, I think it's saying there. Do I actually have pipes in here? I do not! Okay, that's a thing I should probably fix. Pipes are used by a couple of things, including engine units, actually. I probably can just go visit the engine units builder. But you know, it's nice to have these things on hand, just in case. And let's get those as well, because we're also going to be needing a lot of those. Wooden box, don't I? And you. And you also need that, but fortunately it's right over here, as though I planned it. Of course I didn't, but you know, it's like I planned it. Which is almost the same thing. And let's limit you to, let's say 200 pipe. And you as well. Okay. How many pipes are we going to need for 10 of these? Well, it's 10 times 10, so 100 once again. Which shouldn't take it very long, especially if I turn that off for the moment. Dump off some recycling while I'm here. Okay, what are we up to here? 70. Yeah, well, we've got one extra on the list here. 80. 1. 90. And very so soon. 100. There we go. Alright. So now we just need 150 steel, which we have up here, of course. There we go. 10 oil refineries. Now those take quite a while to make. So let's have a look-see. If we found anything new, you can generally tell where your scanning is based on the square edging. But it doesn't look like we've gotten very much done. You can occasionally see these little dots opening up. That's when our radars are managing to rescan an area. But doesn't seem like we've found very much so far. We also certainly haven't found what was attacking us from down here. I'm still none the wiser as to what that was. One interesting to note, whilst we're just waiting on this, is we have this little patch here, where there is no pollution, and the reason that's happening is that the walls up here, and the trees and all sorts, are absorbing some of the pollution that's coming out. So we have this big forest right here, and that is just absorbing this pollution, lowering it before it can actually reach the other side. So, little thing to bear in mind before you burn down a giant forest is sometimes they're actually doing you some good. There is no ammunition in here. I should absolutely give this some ammunition. Jeez. Oh, imagine what that could have done. Okay, and we're done with our refineries. Let's grab a bunch of pipes because we're going to need a bunch of pipes. of all the kinds we can grab. 82 will be fine, 26 will help. Okay, up we go. Now in theory I could be piping this all back to base and be doing a much tidier job of it over here and whatnot, but it's going to be one of the bigger inevitables, really, that we are going to actually have to just train this all in. So consequently, it's almost better to just start up over here and then just pipe it over here with trains and whatnot. Gives us more room to actually insert things onto the belt, which will be more important the later on we go. Alright. Of course, the bigger dire problem here is that there's no water nearby here. We would have to pipe that in from probably up here. So yeah, that's more of an issue than the fact that we're so far away from base. Okay, so let's just line these up. Grenades are thankfully at the level of removing trees instantaneously, and we'll set them to the only thing they have currently, basic oil. There's 3, I think, different recipes that you can give to these, one of which is an upgraded version of this that just gives you more petroleum gas, and I think one is coal liquefaction, which we're not going to be getting into today. But, as you can see, they have 2 inputs, and they have 3 different outputs, and those outputs are heavy oil, light oil, and petroleum gas, which is the only thing we're actually worried about right now. And it only takes crude oil, the superior version takes water as an input as well, and we need to basically just figure out how to insert all of this. I'm actually going to set this up with the idea that we're going to be setting it up for water insertion later, so let's just get this in. Now there's 2 things to note. Unlike belts, you cannot walk through pipes, and also pipes can only have 1 inventory. They cannot be given items interchangeably. They have to be drained 100% before they can take in something else, which can lead to some low-scale disasters if you're not terribly careful. And then the pipe to grounds function basically like our underground belts. They're not terribly surprising there. Okay, so that's got that going. Now these do not work very quickly. You are very likely to want to get these actually charged up with something a bit more potent, but yeah, for right now we're working on it. For right now we're just working to get any semblance of this working so that we can get any semblance of plastic going. So this is not going to be the neatest and tidiest I could possibly make it. There we go. So off they go, and here they go, filling up with our 3 outputs. So now we have to try and disentangle all of the outputs that these are creating. So let's start by, let's go to about there, there, and there. And we want to just have 3 different lines, like so. And then we need to use our undergrounds to skip over different ones. And let's take that one to there. And then that can have that. Okay, so we're probably going a bit further than we need to, but it's fine, because that actually gives us room to have more undergrounds, and more undergrounds means more space to actually walk along this, which is kind of an important thing. Okay, so that is how we do that, for the most part. Now we need different tanks for these, because we're going to be producing a lot, and an important thing to note about this recipe is it produces 40 petroleum gas and then 30 light and heavy oil, which means you're producing more petroleum gas than you are the other two components. So unless you do something with those, you're going to end up with an imbalance of your outputs. And that means that one of your tanks will fill up, and if one of your tanks is filled up, that means these can't put it anywhere, so the entire system stops. So it is generally best to think about doing some stuff with that as you're going. We're quite low on pipes here, which I'm going to need quite a bit more of. Do I have anything to make tanks? I can make 1 tank. Might as well do that now and put that onto our petroleum gas. Like so. So let's hop back with the car and grab ourselves some more pipes. So, given that we are currently just aiming to have petroleum gas to make plastics with, we are more or less of the mindset that we don't need to care about the other ones. In theory, at this point, we don't even really care about managing them, because we are probably going to have a better system by the time that we are actually, like, filling up and locking into place and whatnot. But we are nonetheless going to contemplate it, and I probably need more iron and steel, so let's grab both of these. Okay, and let's grab a couple more of those. And we're gonna need a few chemical plants for this next step. So that's great. Let's get about 5 of those crafting. So yeah, what tends to happen is more or less what we're about to do on some scales, because you don't need heavy and light oil nearly as much as you need petroleum gas, which is partially why the research exists, to just make a whole bunch of it. So what people will do is they will take these 2 outputs and they will crack them. They will reduce them to even lower levels, and in our case that means turning them into more petroleum gas. And I'm just going to try and make sure that I get this right, so I can then just blueprint it. There. Looks a little bit of a mess, and it kind of is, but it's a mess that we can recognize and repeat line after line. So heavy oil does not go into terribly much. You can break it down into lubricant, which is necessary for making electric engines, and you can also break light oil down into petroleum gas directly, but you can also, more importantly, use it to make solid fuel, and solid fuel comes into play quite a bit down the road for making rocket fuel. But it's also just a better fuel in general than the coal that we've been using for everything. So we may keep some of that around for the time being just to fuel our trains later on. And 1 pair short. Thankfully they don't take very long to craft. Okay, that is all of them hooked up, but only 2 of the outputs are actually in use right now. So let's make a couple more of these to go into a couple of these. And let's have the outputs for these just down here. Let's put that there and that there. So there's our light oil, and there's our heavy oil. And now everybody is free to drain completely. You can see on the right there that they have the input of 200 oil, but there is currently no outputs, except for the flicker when we actually see. Now we can make that go faster. That is exactly what these pumps are for. They're for draining these pipelines much faster, as well as feeding them a lot faster, which is important for much larger systems when you are breaking down a whole ton of materials. But okay. We've got 6.9k in climbing petroleum gas, going up quite happily there, very good. Over here we have 5.5k light oil and 5.5k heavy oil, because those are the ratios that we have expected this whole time. And let's just plonk down a few lights, because it's getting a bit dark down here. Don't really want it to be dark, especially if we're, well, we're functionally in enemy territory right now, so, yeah. I would prefer to know if I'm about to be, like, attacked. Again, not perfect, but it'll do for the time being. Okay. So now we need to get this somewhere else, and that is going to be an ordeal in and of itself. As I say, if we built this closer to here, it'd be a lot easier to feed it in for making the red circuits here, but this is again another problem that we're just going to have to deal with in the going forwards. So that is about all I have for you today. In the next episode, I'll set up a little bit of a cracking there, and we're going to be working on getting our trains set up. For the moment, though, let's do ourselves a favor. We are just going to set this up for turning the light oil into solid fuel. The reason we're going to go with the light oil, you can see there's 3 options here, is because that takes 20 heavy oil, that takes petroleum gas of 20, and that takes 10 light oil. So it's cheapest and most cost efficient to use the solid fuel. But there's a bunch of stuff here. So there's lubricant right there, comes from heavy oil. Sulfuric acid comes from sulfur, which comes from petroleum gas. Once again, batteries come from sulfuric acid. Plastic bars come from petroleum gas. You can see there's not actually terribly much use for solid and heavy fuel. So for now, we're just going to be making some solid fuel. So shift and right click and shift and left click to just copy that over. And with this, we shall make a much faster car, essentially. Is that everybody? Nope, it's not. Okay. There we go. Solid fuel. Hooray. And let's box that up. Okay. So, solid fuel. Let's talk about it a little bit. Fuel value of 25 megajoules, vehicle acceleration of 120% if we go over to our slightly damaged car. The coal has a fuel value of 8 megajoules, so that's already a much better fuel substance that we could potentially be shoving into our furnaces if we had a huge abundance of it, but that's going to be irrelevant as soon as we get to electric furnaces. And coal has no fuel acceleration, which means that our car will actually move 20% faster if we fuel it using the solid fuel. Now that is also true of trains, and especially it is also true of tanks. Meaning, if we start fueling a tank with this stuff, it's gonna go dramatically faster than if we were fueling it using just the regular old coal. So our car is gonna have better efficiency, it's gonna be moving much faster just as soon as it burns off that remaining coal. And I am now suddenly gripped with the terror that this is going to get attacked, so I'm just going to shove a few turrets around here if I have any. I do not. Okay, let's just remain in the grip of terror. It's fine, I'm sure. So if I just keep my cursor over that, we should eventually see it change. So top speed is currently 105%, acceleration 120, because we have already switched over, so it is now actually capable of zipping around even faster. Beginning to wonder if I should set some kind of tram between here and there, but yeah, it's probably fine. Do I have anywhere making turrets? Not here, but I definitely have it at the guns. Okay, I'll go set that up, and I shall as ever catch you all next time.